there, yarn lovers, it's Gary and I'm coming to you from my happy place, the Yarn Corner here on Vancouver Island in Canada. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Today's Wednesday, August the 2nd, 2023, and this is video number 192. How are you all doing? I hope you're well and staying safe. I have been on my vacation, having family time and gatherings and whatnot for the last week and a bit. It's been 3 weeks since I last caught you up on my updates. I did have a couple of videos in between talking about some purchases and 20 questions for my favorite songs, which I was tagged on. And so I have been away and I need to start talking to you about what I've been crafting on. So this video is going to be talking about some finished objects, some works in progress, holiday crafting, because that's what I've been doing the last little bit, and also what I've been up to in the last 2 weeks. I'll push all that stuff towards the end, what I've been up to in my community and my time off, so that you can enjoy some footage that I have of various things like floating down the river, enjoying time at the cabin, and any little knickknacks that I can find along the way with Pixel, our new puppy. I will add them as well towards the end of the video. So all up front will be my yarny adventures and what I've been making, crafts that I've been working on, and I hope that you'll enjoy it. If you have just happened across this channel for the very first time, I've set this channel up to talk about all of my yarny adventures, my crafts. I do knit, crochet, and a little bit of yarn dyeing. I started Tunisian crochet as well. If that kind of thing is of your interest, please stick around. For those who are returning, I want to say welcome back and a big thank you, as I mentioned before, with the Tunisian crochet comments that I received from a couple videos back when I was unboxing the Temu stuff that I had got. So a set of crochet Tunisian crochet hooks and some yarn. So I've been dabbling with those things. And also the last video where I was tagged to suggest my 20 favorite songs, I opened it up for everyone to also include their favorites in the comments. And I want to say I enjoyed reading those favorites as well. So thank you for helping with letting me see a little bit more of your background, your taste in music. And I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised on how versatile and broad a spectrum of those favorite songs were in the comments. If you're not familiar with that video, I will link it down below, and it was my very last one. So if you want to play along and you want to leave your comments on your favorite music as well, then please do. It's very tough, I know, because you know we're talking about a whole life of loving music, and just to pick 20 doesn't seem to fit the whole categories of who we are, and that seemed to be the going thread as well in the comments. So what else do I have here? Oh yes, Pixel. I have it in bold here because everyone loves to see some footage of our new dog Pixel. I'll put that towards the end as well. And she's started puppy training school. She's already doing so well. You know, the biting has slowed down a little bit and she's getting more gentle too. I think the teeth in the mouth, her baby teeth are kind of like getting looser as she's getting a bit older. So she's quite sensitive around her mouth area. So she's not biting as much, which is good for our furniture and our kind of like our arms and our skin and all that sort of stuff. So let's get cracking on what I need to talk about, because we might be here for a while, and then I will put everything towards the end. I think I mentioned on what I've been up to in the last 3 weeks, and there's a lot to catch you up on. So without any further ado, delay, I should say, here we have my first finished object. You've been with me, if you've been watching the last couple of updates over the course since May, June, and a little bit of July. I finally finished my Mosaic sweater vest. And I absolutely love this. Now, the yarn that I used, I have some footage of me wearing this, so I will show it to you after I talk about the make, as well as the yarn that I used, the needle sizes, and all the rest. But this is a pattern which is free on Ravelry, and it's called the Mosaic, and it's by Lisa Richardson. It's a 2-color slip stitch knit pattern, and it is a continuous pattern all the way up through the front and the back panel. I did it in the round, although the pattern does suggest that you do it in panels and then seam it up. But I figured out a way of doing it in the round to save me the time and hassle of doing the sewing. So this is the back of it. It has the pattern as well. And I really enjoyed working on it. It was interesting how to do decreases, and I do value all the wisdom that was shared with me in one of the videos where I posted. I was at the sleeve shaping part of the sweater vest, and I was almost done, and I was finding that the decreases were coming up kind of awkwardly, and I was stepping with a definite incline in each of the rows that I was decreasing, and I had just by chance figured out to slip a stitch over to get a nicer slope, and that was a suggestion from a couple of commenters who do knitting, and they were suggesting that that is kind of like a better way of doing a decrease without working the knit 2 or purl 2 together, that the last stitch leapfrogs over the second last stitch, and then you kind of like turn your work and work back the other way. So I valued that. That was excellent tip, because the actual pattern itself doesn't give you directions on how to decrease for the armhole shaping. It just says decrease, and then it's got 1 per row, abbreviated for the next alternate row for 4 rows, and sort of like that. So that's the way that it's written, with no description. But absolutely loved it. Now let's take a look at the yarn and what I used. This yarn was generously gifted to me by Hoodie or Hobby. They're a yarn store in Denmark. They were having a campaign back in May, and it ended June the 15th, 2023. It was all to do with travel inspired makes, and I had chosen my 2 highlights for my travel experience being Morocco and Spain. When I was in my 20s, I went and visited, and I fell in love with all the mosaics and all the tiles in architecture that were used back in the ancient times. And so I wanted to find some patterns. The mosaic popped out at me, and I chose that pattern by Lisa Richardson. So here are the yarns that I used. I used alpaca silk, and this is in the colorway Raven. And I used this one here, which is in the colorway Pearl Beach, so a gray and a black. With that, I held, with the Pearl Beach, I held this yarn here, which is called Sweet Tweed, and that's a Hobie yarn as well. That is a kind of classified as a fingering lace weight, sorry, it's a 0 weight, so it's a lace weight yarn. And it is a combination of all different fibers. I found it lovely to work with because it's made the garment super woolly and warm, so it'd be good for cooler weather, and not right now because I'm sweating and it's quite hot. But I held those 2 together. The colorway on this one was just called light gray, and again the Hobie Sweet Tweed in this color here, it was called, I think, charcoal or dark gray. I held those 2 together. So the needle size I used was 3.5 millimeters, and they were my Chargu stainless steel. And I believe the circumference of the needle was like around 24 inches. Sorry, no, I'm going to say it was a 22 and a 6-inch together, so that's 28 inches around. And that was good for me to work the whole garment all the way up to when I separated. And yeah, so really nice fabric it made up. I had to frog back a few times, but because I held those 2 together, quite a silky, smooth alpaca silk yarn, and the fluffy Angora type one, which was the Sweet Tweed, I had no issues with frogging. It did hang up a little bit but I'm going to say it was frog friendly holding those two together, maybe around a 3 out of 5, 5 being the most friendly to frog. I absolutely love it. So now I'm going to add some footage here of me wearing it so that you can see how it drapes. And I did alter the pattern a little bit because it was made for a female's figure with decreasing and increasing, and I avoided doing all of that, and I just did a straight boxy style sweater vest, and it hangs nicer on my form because I don't have the curves that the pattern was intended for. It was also a crop top, so I extended it so it would reach below my belt buckle and my waist, and I can use it either on its own with my arms out, you know, wearing a short sleeve shirt or a t-shirt, and I can also have it underneath a jacket or a jean jacket or a blazer, and that will equally work nicely as well. So here is the footage. I hope that you enjoy it, and I'll be back with the next finished object. So what did you think? I know, super awkward. I'm not used to kind of like getting in front of a camera and modeling stuff. So let's just keep moving on. I have the next thing that I'm going to talk about here. It's a finished work. It is also yarn that was generously gifted to me by Hobby for the travel campaign, #OnHolidaysWithHobby. So this one was a crochet pattern that I paid for, and it is by Lilygo. It's called the Fields of Clover. Had a bit of a brain fog there, and I absolutely enjoyed working with this because of the beautiful yarn that I used, how it transitioned, us playing with color, with different collections of yarn from Hobby, and one that I threw in there because I really liked a certain color from a different collection. So let's talk about the yarn. And I do have some video as well of me showing it off, and you'll see the wonderful motif along the bottom here right at the end of the design where there is color work of crochet features a clover motif, and it's wonderful. I love it. It goes across the bottom. I think there's 14 of those clover motifs across. Now I did the extra large. The pattern has, I think, 4 sizes, starting off with a medium, and then, sorry, it must be a small, medium, large, extra large. So I did the extra large, and it, as you can tell, when I was blocking this up, it was filling up the whole space in my room. So it is quite a large piece. I'm going to say when I stretched it out, and you'll see in the video, it's probably over 8 feet in the longest part of the triangle, and then possibly I'm going to say maybe up to 6 feet on each of the sides. So quite a large piece indeed, and enough to wrap around and keep your whole body warm. So let's talk about the yarn. I had used 2 Dolce Cashmere yarn cakes from Hobby. That's the label there. This is a fingering weight yarn, and absolutely enjoyed working with this. It's quite elasticy and buttery soft. And I used 2. So the colorways that I had was Sangria, which ran from kind of purpley mauves into sort of a grayish color. And then this one was Rose Gold, as the name suggests, went from a yellowish orange color to a rosy pink color. So I thought that pinks, the purples, and the gray with the yellow worked really nicely. I also put in 2 other yarns in here. One of them was the alpaca silk, which also Hobie provided to me in a different colorway, and this colorway is called Arctic Lichen. So it's kind of a grayish green color. Really lovely with all the other tints of the pinks, purples. I think a bit of green kind of like worked well with the color combination. The other thing that I used was this rusty red color down here, and that was from Knit Picks. It's a hawthorn kettle dyed yarn, fingering weight as well. Okay, found it. It's called Kerns. So that's the details there of the Knit Picks yarn, should you need to know that. And I pretty much used all of the hank here, which was 100 grams. I used all of these 2 cakes, apart from a small bit of the sangria colorway, which that much is left. And I'm going to put that in my minis, so that when I work up a project with my minis, this purple will probably make another appearance, because I really enjoyed working with it. And for the Arctic Lichen, I pretty much used almost a full 50 gram hank here, or ball, probably around 45 grams of this one here. So loved working with it. Now I'll just check my notes to see what I used in my hook. Oh yes, I do recall this one. It was a gifted hook by a friend of the channel here called Risa, and I want to say thank you, Risa, for that beautiful gift. And it's a Nelson wood hook. It's 4 millimeters, or a G hook, and I absolutely enjoyed that immensely. So those are the 2 finished objects, but before I get going on the whips, I want to just cut now into me showcasing it, because you can see more of the drape and the beautiful colors in the footage that I have for you here. So enjoy that, and I'll be back with some whips. Let's keep the train moving and talk about some whips that I've been working on. So I should mention some wonderful bags that I'm holding these projects into, by the way. This one here, a really good friend from the channel and of mine is Emmy Phillips. She sent me this beautiful bag from Erin Lane, and it reads here, you might not be able to see it on the camera, I rescue yarn, I'm kind of a hero. It's a drawstring bag. I absolutely love this bag. So it's holding my whip here, and I'm taking it from this publication here called West Knits Best Knits, and I got this from a yarn store called Valley Yarns. I believe it's in Surrey, which is in it's in BC, my province, and they shipped it to me. So I ordered it a few years back, and I've done about 2 or 3 of these patterns. I absolutely love this book. And I picked another one to start, and it's called Dotted Rays. So here we go. This is where I'm up to. I took this away with me when I went to the conference down in Victoria, which I'll talk to you more about when I do the life catch up. But here it is. I absolutely love this. I was in the car, and we had one of my work co-workers drive us down, so I had my hands free to begin this in the car. So I was loving it when I was making it, and it's small enough that I had it in my bag with the book, and it wasn't taking up too much room. So I don't know whether I'm going to do the large format one or the medium size format one. So I do have enough yarn to do the large one. I'll just see how it works around my body when I get to the smaller size one. And if I'm liking the use of more of a bandana, or not a bandana, but a scarfette or a shawlette style more than the long one, then I will stop at the small. But yep, absolutely love the color and the color play. That's the front side of it there. And this is the back side. I will have some serious weaving in of ends to do on each of these little brackets that are kind of separating each of the sections here. And but I don't mind, because I do like these two colors playing out together. It's quite springy, and if I get it done over the course of, I guess, the next month or two, I'll have it to wear next spring or even in the winter. So I'm really liking it. It uses the 4mm set of bamboo chagus, and these are fixed, but I really like them for traveling, because I was kind of like throwing it around in my case, and I thought, you know, if they're metal, they might slip off. I don't have any stoppers, so the wood is good, the bamboo is good for a bit of grip, and that way the work won't slide off. I think it's a maybe a 24-inch length cable in between the needles. All right, so what am I using? I have yarn here. This is the Hawthorne Straw. Sorry, it's not the Hawthorne Straw. It's Knit Picks Hawthorne Fingering Weight, and it's the kettle dye yarn. The colorway is called Poseidon. I love it. Love it, love it. That's for the main sections. Then my breaking up of the sections, I'm using this yarn here, which was hand dyed by another friend of the channel, Penny Bolton. Thank you, Penny, for this yarn. It's amazing. So I've got the label here. It started off as the bear yarn with glitter in it, and it's called Shawl Glitter. I don't know whether you can see that there's like a stellina or some type of latex that sort of shimmers in there. I can't feel it at all. It's just as equally soft as the wool fiber in this, and it's also a fingering weight yarn. 70% fine superwash merino wool and 25% nylon, 5% stellina. Oops, got a message there. So yeah, I absolutely love the color, and that's making its way into the shawl as well. I should have enough of this left over to make something else with it too, but I'm loving the two together. So that is project number 1. And also some fun little tip here is Chad wanted to learn how to crochet. So he's got his ball of yarn in here too. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't have a label. It's just something from the scrap bin. It's it may be something like Barcelona yarn by Loops and Threads. I did use that yarn for a project when I first started, and he is learning how to chain. So this is his work here. He's probably going to hate me for showing you that, but I think he's doing wonderful. So project number 1. Project number 2 is something that I showcased a little while back. I have put maybe an inch more of knitting on this one, and this was a drawing that I did in my knit journal, and I wanted to use this beautiful yarn and create a sweater vest, but hoodie with a hoodie. So no sleeves. It'll have the front, back, and a hood, and I'm learning how to do the Celtic knot in the middle, honeycomb stitches here, and in between I'm doing the elongated seed stitch. So instead of alternating every row, I'm alternating the reverse stitch every other row. So it's it'll be 2 knit on top of 2 purl on top of 2 knit. So yeah, that's how I'm working it, and this is what I've got so far. I've done the full repeat of the Celtic knot, and I'm halfway through the second one here. Absolutely am enjoying this, and I'm thinking it might be a little small, but when I kind of am blocking this, I get possibly 4 inches of ease that stretches out of this, because there's so many stitches that I'm passing the yarn forward and backwards, so it's creating a nice loose kind of fabric. And I don't mind that because it is fuzzy and I don't want to do it so tight that it will felt. So I am keeping it nice and loose, and I love the look of it. I'm using my Chagu. I think these are either 4.5 or 5 millimeters. I'll just take a look at what my notes are saying here. I am using, I don't have them in my notes. Uh-oh. I think it's a 4.5 or 5 millimeter set of stainless steel Chagu needles. And I'm working it up in the rounds. If you want to take a look at the inside, this is how it looks of all the stitches. Not as nice as the outside, but I guess that's why it's kind of like the wrong side. And I'm really enjoying it. So no pattern, just me. I made a draft in my journal, my knit journal, on what I wanted for it to look like, and then I found some patterns that were free, and this one was the Celtic knot here. That's what I'm working through for the middle section, so it's front and back. And this is by, does it have a name? No, there's no name on the printout of who I received this from, but I will look to see where it is in my PDF collection and see whether I can maybe trace backstep and trace where I got this from. So if you're interested in it, you can try it as well. It's called the Celtic Cable or Saxon Stitch. Just there. Yeah. The yarn that I'm using, also another wonderful generous gift by Crystal over at Bag a Day. Hi Crystal, I absolutely love this yarn. Ever since I received it, I've been wanting to work with it, and now it's really hot here. It's, I don't know, maybe in the 90s if you're talking Fahrenheit, and kind of high 20s into the low 30s degrees if you're talking Celsius. And it's called the Croft. It's by West Yorkshire Spinners, and this one is 100% Shetland Island wool. The colorway is called Rolling Hills. How apt is that? Because it does undulate between a nice emerald green into more of the, I don't know what they would call that, kind of meadow colors, right? So meadow grass, grassy greens, and spring green, emerald green. I love it, love it. So this is my whip number 2. Number 3, I have it in a box, but I have been away from my crafting room, out on conferences, and then took a week off work and was at the family cabin. So I didn't actually work on the Nature's Walk, but I have blocked out all of my squares now. I believe the last time I had maybe 30 still to block, but they're all done and it's set to go. But now that I've come back to my crafting room, I have some time to lay it out on my floor, and then just sort of, I'm going to use my stitch markers to pin it all together using stitch markers, and then I'll be able to fold it away and just work on it here in the evenings. I've got a single crochet stitch them all together, and then there's this beautiful border that I've got to do as well. Next up is what I've been trying out for the very first time. So it's not really a whip moving towards a finished item. This is me practicing, doing some swatches, trying out different things with Tunisian crochet. So I'm really slow at it because I'm using something very new to me and I'm not really familiar with the stitches. But I do want to thank all the commenters when I opened up my Temu unboxing of the crochet hooks and the yarn that I got from Temu. And everyone made some great suggestions who commented on that video saying where I could go to learn how to do Tunisian simple stitch, and they suggested simple stitch would be the best one to start with. So I took your advice and I did the simple stitch. So here it is here in some of the yarn that I got from Temu as well. It is a cotton-based yarn. Now, I have affiliate links with Temu, so this yarn and the crochet hook set that I got for really inexpensive, I think it was like 13 US dollars or Canadian dollars, I can't quite remember, but they were quite affordable. And those links down below in the comment box are affiliate links. So this is the yarn, what I used. It's called, I think it was just basically called cotton yarn. It's very, very soft. It's very similar to the Caron cakes that you can get at Michael's. I would say it's slightly a little softer than the Caron cake. Similar colorway to those cotton cakes. And this is how it worked up in the simple stitch. Now I'm just learning it. That's it. That's the wrong side of the simple stitch in Tunisian. And it is curling a lot. Everyone was commenting on go up a couple of hook sizes, if not a half a size, go up a full size in the hook as what's recommended on the label. This yarn from Temu that didn't come with a label, so it didn't give me any idea of what the content was, how much was in the yarn, in the cake, as well as what hook size to use. So I used this hook size here, and that's the Tunisian cord there. I didn't really need to use the cord. I was able to pretty much get all my stitches on just the bamboo section. And the set came in 12 or 13 sizes in the crochet set, the Tunisian crochet set, and this is a 5.5 millimeter. So that's the type of head that's in it. I think this is called inline. And I found that some of the tests that I did of the other sizes, because I wanted to sample, you know, the different sizes to see what would work best with the swatch. I started with, I think, a 4, and I noticed that this bamboo set had a little kind of a ridge, a little splinter, you could call it. It wasn't sanded well. So when I was using the 4.5 or 4, I had to kind of like sand it down a little bit so that the yarn would not catch on it. Well, when you think of it, the full set of 13 crochet hooks, or the Tunisian hooks, for the price point of $13, I'm just trying something out for the very first time. So I didn't want to spend too much money, and I got to expect that the hooks are kind of like probably not the most professional. So, but I did enjoy working with it, and I am yet to try some more of this simple stitch to get more comfortable with it. The hook itself also has a thumb rest, so I don't know whether you can see that. There's like a little indent there, right where you can rest your thumb, and that way you know where the hook is, so that when you're crocheting you can put that hook down away from your loops and it doesn't get caught. So I like that. I like that little feature, thumb rest. So that is the Temu tests that I've been doing in crochet, in Tunisian crochet. So that catches you up on all of the yarny goodies that I've got to share with you in this episode. So I'm going to shift gears now and talk about what I've been up to for the past 3 weeks, because I feel like I haven't shared with you any of the ongoings here on Vancouver Island or in the household for me, Chad, and baby Pixel, which is our little puppy. So if you're just here for the yarny goodies and you need to get on with your day, I want to say thank you for joining in, and I'll see you in the next episode. Hope you enjoy your week. So shifting gears, I have to turn back the clock. 3 weeks ago, we had a conference, a work conference, and I got to get down to Victoria, which is our province's capital, and it's situated on Vancouver Island, so I didn't have to catch any ferries or fly over oceans to get to it. I just jumped in the car with my work co-workers, and we drove for 3 hours down to the city and spent 3 days down there to do the conference. It was a lot of fun. We booked into an Airbnb just outside of Chinatown, and we enjoyed amazing food. Victoria is really good for food and for the inner harbour that's there. If you time it really well, you get to see some artisans along the boardwalk or along the pier edge of the inner harbour. Unfortunately, there was none at the time that we were there, but we did enjoy wonderful food, great weather, and our Airbnb was really nice. So yeah, I got to spend 1 hour before heading back home. We were all given a bit of free time to go and do whatever we wanted to before jumping back into the vehicle to come back home. And I chose to go to a local yarn store, which I have visited before and I love going to it. It's called the Beehive, and I've got some footage of that, so I will put it towards the end as well so that you can see where the Beehive is. And I got another message. And so I didn't purchase much. I didn't go into the more expensive lines. I did get some Malabrigo and some Drops Kid Mohair, just because they spoke to me and I had some ideas for the colors and the yarn that I chose. But I loved going in there just to feel the local indie dyers that are around the island that's stored, that are shelved in that store, and some of the more well-known indie dyers from around the world. Europe and the US are there as well. So I do like going just to touch and feel and get an idea of what colors are going on right now for trend, or if there are special colorways that are from well-known prominent indie dyers. So then we got back home. I was there at work for a little while, then I had a week off. Got myself to the cabin by a lake that I call it the family cabin, and we had some friends come to spend a couple days with us, and we had some interesting weather. I wouldn't say it was summery weather. It was quite blustery with wind, and it rained I think twice on us, but we spent time in the cabin and had a really nice catch up. We played board games. If you've not played this card game called Taco, Cat, Goat, Cheese, Pizza, I would suggest perhaps maybe looking it up. It's not very difficult to play. I won't explain the rules, but it's very similar to Snap, and you need great reflexes to play the game. So I lost twice. I think it was because I was furthest away from the deck. Anyway, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. So 4 days with our good friends. They left after that and went back to Vancouver. And then we had some distant cousins from Chad's side of the family come, and they were from France. So they stayed with us for 2 nights, I think it was, in the cabin. We had them stay at our house while we were at the cabin, so that they had a nice kind of hub spot to use for getting out further into the wilderness and exploring other wonderful areas around us here in the valley. And so yeah, it was a great time. Broken English, broken French, trying to communicate, and we managed quite successfully, I think. And yeah, then we moved over to Vancouver for the last 2 days of my holidays from work, and we had a gathering for the French cousins, and they were being hosted by other family members who live in the Vancouver area, and we got to catch up with more family. So that was awesome. Love that. And I got to get to Michael's in Vancouver and a new to me local yarn store as well called Bad Anna's. And I purchased one or two hanks from unknown yarn dyers. I've never seen this yarn before, so I'll feature that in the next show and tell of my purchases. So yeah, so there's some yarny content in with my travels and my experiences. So I want to just let you know that, you know, I'm always thinking about yarn and thinking about projects to bring when I'm traveling. You've seen the dotted rays. That's what I took down when I went to Victoria. And I also took this mega mega crochet project with me to Vancouver, and that's where I was finishing it up. Moving on into the last and final point here as we move into the final destination of this episode is what I've been watching and what I've been listening to. I do have a new, maybe I've mentioned it before, podcast and a series that is being released weekly on Apple TV. I believe all of the episodes are done because from memory, I think we finished the final episode of this one. Anyway, it's a fictional story and it's called Hijack, and its main character is called Sam. I have a brief synopsis here of what I think it might be 8 episodes for the season, and his character name is Sam. So let me read you the synopsis. It might intrigue you to try it. It's called Sam. A talented business negotiator must use his skills to broker a peaceful end to a hijacking of a 7-hour flight from Dubai to London. So the 8 episodes that I've watched took us all the way through the flight, and I can't tell you what happens in the end because it would spoil it. But if you're interested in that kind of thriller-based kind of suspense drama, then that might be a series for you to get involved with. And I have a podcast here, which I might have mentioned to you because I did listen to it for a while back, but it's resurged in my brain because the case was actually reopened again and there's been a conviction. But the podcast is from a true life crime which kind of ended with being a cold case file, and the podcast is called The Teacher's Pet, and it's by Crime X. So I've got a brief synopsis of this one too. So it's called Lynn and Chris Dawson appear to have the perfect marriage. He's a star footballer and a popular high school teacher. She's a devoted wife and mother. They share a beautiful home above Sydney's northern beaches. But when Lynn goes missing, dark secrets are buried. This is no fairy tale, but a sordid story of strangely close twin brothers, teenage student lovers, and probable murder. So they never really found a body. Lynn Dawson just went missing. So that's the case that had been reopened, I think, of last year, and there was a conviction. So yeah, if you want an interesting Australian story of quite a bizarre situation, that one might be good for you. I don't know how many podcast episodes there are. I think there might be around 8 or 9. So if that is of interest to you, please check out that podcast. And with that, I think that catches you up on everything. I hope that you're being well and staying safe, and that you enjoy your month of August, because oh my God, this year is going so quick. I'll catch you up in the next little while. I've got some other things to show about yarny stuff, so bear with me because it is hot and it is summer here, and sometimes we get sidetracked by doing outdoor things. And until that time, I wish you all well, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.